Saying allegedly does not free you from libel, slander, or defamation. It's not a coverall. And that's a problem. People say allegedly, and then they slip up and then they say, I said allegedly. So long as you're saying it as if it's true, you're now subject to being sued for libel, defamation, especially if it turns out that it is not true. Hi, this is JJ Gat. So today we're going to be talking about how you as a content creator, as a YouTuber, can avoid getting sued the way Tasha K is sued by Kevin Hart after losing a $1.8 million lawsuit to Cardi B for libel, invasion of privacy, and for intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's a lot of legal words, so we're going to get into it. And I'm not going to be talking about the Cardi B case. So for purposes of this video, we're going to be sticking to the Kevin Hart lawsuit. If you're new here, I have covered an iteration of different things from Pinterest marketing to YouTube education to content creator economy to recently legal talks for the content creator and the creator economy, because there are not a lot of creators on YouTube helping content creators understand their rights and responsibilities. So first, the caveat, I am not your attorney, even I am licensed in the U.S. Supreme Court, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, the 3rd Circuit Court of Appeals. Anything I'm saying today is just my opinion, it's just my analysis. Based on the knowledge I have, this is how I would do it. So that's a little caveat there. Here's a list of the topics that I am going to be covering on this series. So if you're interested, you might want to subscribe. And after you watch this video and any other video in that series, if you like it, hit the like button. I would love for us to start a dialogue and have a discussion in the comment section. And if you're interested in it and you want other fellow creators or just general people to know, share it on your social, and we can continue to grow together, and allow me to cover more topics and get in more details and just do more and provide this service for you fellow content creators. So okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so Tasha K on her channel, she does interviews, she talks about celebrity dish and blogs, and she's grown a great following and have success with it. Now, her most recent lawsuit, Kevin Hart, who is suing her and his former assistant, Miesha Shakes. So here's the interview and teaser to that controversial podcast.
You worked for was the Harts.
Yes.
Kevin Hart.
Aniko Hart.
What made you reach out?
It is a time for Hollywood to hear this story, especially because a lot of people are locked in non-disclosures and they're not able to talk and protect themselves. But you have to protect the person you're working for. Where's your protection?
On this interview, the lawsuit, Kevin Hart's team says that someone from Tasha K's team threatened to extort him, said if you don't pay us $250,000, we're going to air and broadcast this interview, which will be damaging for you. He took it immediately to the police, according to the suit, and he's suing for two things: for defamation, because during this interview, discussions were made regarding some things that I just really don't want to get into right now. You can look it up yourself if you're interested in it, and that was false. And so let's first talk about the legal implication of what these things that they're suing for. So when you defame someone, defamation has two different ways. Slander is when you just say someone, you just talk about people. So for example, you walk by and there's someone talking about you, spreading a rumor or gossip in the office about you, but orally. They're not writing it, they're just telling other people. So the minute you tell somebody else something, somebody that's false, defamatory, damaging, it's untrue, constitutes slander. But as you can imagine, slander is kind of hard to prosecute because it's he say, she say, and the evidence, you're really relying on hearsay, meaning stuff that was said that's not like during a court hearing. So it's hard. It's easier to prosecute libel when someone writes it down. So libel is when they're publishing. Now you can publish it by putting it in a newspaper, you can publish it by YouTube, that's publication actually. So when you publish it, it goes from just telling one person to now you're telling lots of people this untrue. So they'll never love it because now more people can know, news can spread, that damage can have like really bigger impact on what's being said, especially if it's untrue. So that is what he's suing for, because if any of the things that was said during the interview were actually true, that assistant and Tasha K arguably would be, they have credible defense, because truth is a defense to defamation and libel and slander. Listen to a segment of Tasha K's interview that Hart's team says is evidence that she committed extortion.
Nobody over there at Heartbeat is paying my salary, okay? And hers either. Nope. And when you don't pay, we have to get money by any means necessary.
Now, the second thing that they're being sued for is extortion, to say like, hey, if you don't give me a certain amount of money, I'm going to air this and damaging. That's against the law. Third and final thing is tortious interference with contract. Why? Because let's get into a third thing, NDA. You probably heard of non-disclosure agreements. Essentially, when you're working for an employer who's high profile and work for a corporation, during your course of employment, you'll get access and privy to a lot of business practices, some secrets, some things that people don't want to make public. But in order to have a business, you have to let the people who work for you know. So you signed a non-disclosure agreement saying that if we were to sever ties, you cannot disclose these certain facts. Non-disclosure agreements usually have a limit still for a certain amount of time. And then they also usually say specifically what you can and cannot say. And then third, there's a penalty. So if within that time you say one of these things on a restricted list, then you will pay a penalty. So that's why when people sign NDAs, they usually don't leak it. But if you breach this NDA, then you have to pay us. So this person did that, allegedly, according to Kevin Hart's law. This production JJ again. Kevin Hart's and his company paid Miesha Shakes $30,000 per year for 3 years for a total of $90,000 to sign the NDA. The NDA expired technically on October 2023, and as you may or may not know, the interview took place in November 2023 and it was published in December 2023. The letters that Kevin Hart's team circulated to the parties said that she had said some loophole, or she told Tasha K there's a loophole that allows her to speak. I believe that loophole she's thinking about is the fact that the NDA expired. However, even though it technically expired October 2023, there's some courts that would say you still have to keep that information private. So Miesha Shakes possibly could be in trouble to pay back this $90,000. That's it. I just wanted to let you know that. And how Tasha K gets into it is because whatever she did, if she did anything to entice this person to speak to her on her platform and perhaps even give money, I don't know, then that is called interference. So there's a claim in law called tortious interference with contract. In order to succeed in that, you have to actually have had something negative, like a negative judgment or something against you. And I don't want to get into the validity or, the likelihood that they'll succeed on their claims. However, that is what was sued, and that's how it is, because it's possible that what this person spilled was true. But in addition to this information, they also said some other things that Kevin Hart's team saying is patently false. So that's where you get the defamation, the untrue part. So it's defamation, interference with a contract, and violation of NDA. So that's what that lawsuit is about. Okay, post-production JJ here. I realized after I filmed the video that I missed the fifth of the 5 causes of actions that Kevin Hart's lawyers sued Tasha K and his former assistant Miesha Shakes for: extortion, defamation, breach of contract, interference with the contract, and the 5th one was invasion of privacy. Now, invasion of privacy is implicated because as people, just generally, whether you're a celebrity or private individual, you have a reasonable expectation of privacy in your home, in your car, places that are not in the public. Once you leave your home, once you leave your car, like I'm in this car, you're out in the public, you have less rights because you can expect, especially in this era where everyone has ring cameras and closed cameras, someone could take a picture of you. So you can't sue someone for taking a picture of you out in the public because you don't have the right to privacy in the public. And for public figures, they even have lesser rights than private individuals because they put themselves out there as public figures. So I'm talking about celebrities, athletes, politicians, people who are public officials. Nonetheless, even though that's as to their public nature of their jobs, as to private things, personal, intimate things, we don't have the right to publish that. So an example, I used to run, and I still run, a parenting blog. In its early stages, it used to cover a lot of celebrity pregnancy. So someone I know who works in a hospital I had verified this fact factually, that they knew the sex of this celebrity couple's baby. They gave me that information. Now, I couldn't be sued for defamation because it was true. There was no doubt that it was true. That was the sex of their latest child. However, if I had published that on my blog, I could have been sued for invasion of privacy because the sex of their baby is a private fact that is not necessarily up for public consumption, and that is an invasion of their privacy. So I chose to not share that information because I didn't want to be sued. So what happened is the intimate information related to whatever happened with Kevin Hart and his family and his wife and things like that, that's not really public knowledge. So that's what was alleged in the suit, that the disclosure of this information that Miesha Shakes had to Tasha K on this podcast, on this television or this YouTube channel, was an invasion of privacy. So that's the other claim. So how do you avoid getting sued? By if some outlet says something slanderous and I just repeat them, they can sue me as well, because it doesn't matter to say, well, I got it from People Magazine. Well, People Magazine also violated the law. So while you're just carrying what People Magazine says, that's not protection. Now, how can you, as a content creator, as a gossip blogger, as a person who sometimes talk about celebrity gossip or just mention or just talk about people who are high profile, who have moneyed, perhaps politicians, perhaps other people whose reputation really is their brand, how can you avoid being sued for defamation? The first thing you need to do is, if you're ever given some information and someone tells you something, or if you read about something in another outlet, if you haven't personally for yourself validated the veracity or the truthfulness of it by an independent source and say, yes, this is true, because again, truth is your only defense to defamation. So if you aren't sure for sure it's true, your best bet is to just not mention it at all. Just avoid it. Just don't talk about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing you can do, if this is your genre, is you can actually, even talking about people who are public, you're allowed to give your opinion. So if you learn about a situation, maybe there's a rumor, maybe there's something that's like, there's a buzz that hasn't been validated, that you're not quite sure, you can actually give your opinion on the fact that a rumor exists. You're giving your opinion. You're not stating as if that it is fact. You're saying that the rumor, my opinion is that rumor. If this rumor is true, this is what I'm saying. So that is two ways that you can potentially get around it. Unless you independently validate its validity, don't mention it. Or second, and just talk about your opinion, what you would say about it if it were true. Saying allegedly does not free you from libel, slander, or defamation. It's not a coverall, especially if you say allegedly, and then after you use the word allegedly, you go on and talk about it as if it's fact or truth. And that's a problem. People say allegedly, and then they slip up, and then they say, I said allegedly. So long as you're saying it as if it's true, you're now subject to being sued for libel, defamation, especially if it turns out that it is not true. So you want to avoid that. My next video, at some point, I'm going to talk about the Cardi B case and those different, which have different elements that she was sued for there. Stay tuned for that video coming up soon. Stay tuned to this channel when I'll be talking about those other topics, and subscribe and tell your friends. And yeah, what do you think about that? Just generally, I just don't have any specific question, but if you just want to talk or chat amongst yourself, and I may join you down there in the comments and just give you my opinion. All right, again, opinion. That's the key. Stay out of jail. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. JJ Gat. Watch this video next in the series.